Hello friend, welcome back. In our previous video, I have already discussed about that things with you, how can send some of the push notification from to the one signal, right? So it's very easy process. I hope you understand it very clearly. So friend, right now that will be not needed. Now I want to build our e-commerce project. Okay, so from to the scratch, step by step, we will first of all design all that our e-commerce project, and then we will actually implement it all that our APIs and everything. And after that we will come back to particular this project again as easy e-commerce that I have created. So here that will be needed. Okay, so literally we'll actually add that push notification again. So right now I want to do in our index, into the index here for our one signal, I have added some of the script, right? I have added some of the SDK and some of the script. So right now we don't need this. I want to make it as a clean, because first of all I want to develop our e-commerce project, then we'll actually come back again. So now I want to make it as a save all, and here right now we don't need this, and right now we will work in our local host. Okay, so now that is also not needed. I want to close it. I close everything. Perfect. So from to the local host, now I want to work. So in our local host, so that is our project, right friend? So now in this video, I want to do for start to develop our e-commerce project. I want to install all that our dependency that will be needed, and also I want to create all that our file folder structure for our e-commerce project. So as I told you, we'll develop one advanced e-commerce project from to the scratch. So now let's get started. Friend, before do that work, I also want to recommend that some of the extension for you. So if you're already using that Visual Code Editor, into the Visual Code Editor, if you go to that setting, and into the settings, some of the extensions will be needed. That will be not only needed, it will help you a lot. Okay, so it will help you a lot. So here when you go to that setting option, into the setting, there is some of the extensions. So I will recommend it to you to install some of the extensions in your Visual Code Editor. So then that will be helpful to you a lot. So I have already installed it, like as a Bootstrap 4. I have already installed it. There have some of the CSS pack. I have already installed it, and then the ES7 for the React, Redux, and the graphics. So that is the most important one of the extension. I will highly recommend it to you to install this one. Okay, that is the ES7. So if you search it, automatically that will be displayed, and then first of all here you have to simply click as a install. Then this extension will be installed in your this editor. Okay, so make that sure you install it. The HTML CSS support I have already installed, and the vector, so here also I install it. Okay, so only you have to search it in here as a ES7. If you search with the ES7, so you can see I have already installed it. For the reasons it's not showing as a setting, rather than it will be displayed like that way as a React Native. That is the ES6 or the ES7. So it will actually provided some of the references code. So make that sure you install it. Okay, so which is totally fine. So now first of all I want to do for our project, there is a manifest here I have already done. I make it as a clean, and the index HTML. Great. Here also I want to remove it, close it. Okay, close it, and there is a mobile version view. I want to close it, which is totally fine. So here I want to do, first of all I want to go to our project. I want to add some of the dependency as a Bootstrap, React Bootstrap. Okay, so right now that is our project in our user. So that is our e-commerce project, and also our server is now running. You can see our server is now running. I want to do in our this server positions, but I want to make it a little bit big size. I want to make it a big size. And if you go to that Google, and there is a Bootstrap, there is a React Bootstrap. I want to install as a React and then Bootstrap. If you go to that React Bootstrap, so there is a React Bootstrap site. So if you go there, so from here, if you go to that get started, I want to install that React Bootstrap. Okay, so if you want to install it, there's all that code. There is, you have to import it. Okay, and first of all I want to install it with the npm. So here I have already installed that npm. So now I want to install it. So if you want to install particular one of the version, you can select it, rather than I want to make it as a default as a npm install a React Bootstrap. Okay, so Bootstrap, and the Bootstrap I copy it, and now that is appropriate our file location. Here I want to paste it. So first of all I want to install this React Bootstrap. Now click as a enter. Now it will be downloaded all that file from the internet, and it will be installed that React Bootstrap in your system. Okay, friend, it's may take little time, so it's may take little time. Better when it will be done, then I will come back again. Friend, here you can see our React Bootstrap is now successfully installed. Okay, so here it's now successfully installed. When it will be done, then automatically it will be done redirect to our particular folder, which is totally fine. So in our e-commerce project, React will be needed, and also for the slider I want to use another React Slick, that is this React Slick carousel. So I want to use it as a React Slick. Okay, that is a React Slick. If you search into the Google with the React Slick, you can see there is a React Slick documentation. That is our official website. So simply go there, and now you can see that is actually one of the slider mode. So I want to use actually this carousel. Okay, so here if you go to that docs, then it will be provided all that necessary installation process. Like first of all, I want to install it. So that is the installation code. I copy it. Okay, copy that is a npm install React Slick and then save. So I also want to add the dependency, that is this one. Now click as a enter. So now also it will be downloaded all that file from the internet, and it will be installed that React Slick in your project. Okay, so all the dependency, first of all I want to install it. I hope you understand that part. So simply install that all the packages. Also it may take a little time, so better when it will be done, then I will come back again. So you can see it's very fast. So it's successfully installed, and also for the React Slick they have some of the include CSS. Okay, so for included that Slick CSS and the Slick theme CSS, here you have to also install another run command as a npm install Slick and the carousel save. Okay, so I also want to install it. I copy it. So before that is our React Slick, and then now there is a Slick and then carousel. Okay, so I copy it, and then I also want to install it. Now click as a enter. So now that should be also again install it. Okay, so it will be included all that our CSS and theme CSS. Perfect. So now you can see it's now downloading. When it will be done, then I'll come back again. So now you can see, friend, it's also now successfully installed. Okay, so it's also successfully installed. Better I want to make it a little bit here. So it's also successfully installed. So now I want to just create our all that file structure, like that is our by default as a public and the src, right? So for our this e-commerce project, so that will be very advanced level e-commerce project. So if you want to organize all that your file folder, then that will be very much helpful. So I will recommend it to manage all that file structure perfectly, then that will be very much helpful. So for our e-commerce project, I want to do in our src, okay, into the src area, I want to create another folder, and I just name that folder as an asset. Okay, I name it as an asset. So all that our css images I will save in particular this folder. So that is our asset folder. So into the asset folder I want to create another folder, and I name it as a css. So all that our css file I will save in particular this folder area, and also into the asset I want to create another one for the images. So I make it as the images folder. In our asset folder I have created two of this folder. One is the css and the another is the images. Okay, and also that is on the React project we have to develop multiple components. So for the reasons in our src, into this src I want to create another folder. I want to name it as a components. Okay, components. So this type of one of the components folder I simply created, and also we have to manage all that our pages. For the reasons in our src I want to create another folder. I name it as a pages. Okay, pages. So this type of pages folder, so all that pages I will save it in here. And also I want to manage all that our route. So for the reasons in our src I want to create another new folder, and I just name it as a route. Okay, route. So that will be all that our route. I will manage all that our component in particular that area into this route area. All the page component I will save it in here, and all that individual component I will actually add it in our this component folder. Okay, and then into the asset there is a css and the images, which is totally fine. So into the css area I want to add that font or some css. So if you search into the Google with the font or some css, you can download this file. Rather than I have already downloaded this file. If you go to right now, we don't need this. If you go to your exercise file, into the exercise file I have already shared another css as a font or some .css. So now I want to take it. Okay, I want to simply use that font or some CSS. So with this we'll actually able to access all that our font or some icon. I copy it, and then in our project, into the project, in our src, I have created one of the folder as a asset, and then the images, right? So that will be as a CSS. So into the CSS I want to paste it. So that is a font or some .css, which is totally fine. And also I want to create another custom CSS. So all that are custom related CSS. For this I want to create another CSS file. So in our CSS folder here I want to create another file, and I just name it as a custom.css. So all that are custom related CSS code, I will actually add it in our this custom.css area. Okay friend, I hope it's very much clear to you. So now our that is our index HTML. So right now I close it, and here in our src, into the src area, if you go to that as a app.js, so into the app.js you can see by default actually our this page is loaded. You can see it's imported some of the CSS, and also there is on the link, and now by default this page is loaded. Okay, so now I want to make it as a clean. Here I don't need this. I want to make everything select all, and I want to close it. Okay, so now I want to create one of the class based components. So friend, in this course I will use that class based component, so it should be very easy, and we'll actually able to manage a lot of the things with this class based component. So if you want to use that functional based component, you have to do over your all that project, you have to use that functional component. For now, for this course overall I will use that class based component. So I want to create another class based component. If you write down as a rec, so now you can see it's now showing as rec, and now if you select it, automatically it's loaded all that our class based component code. So friend, here it's actually working because of all, as I told you before, here I have already added one of the extensions, right? So that is the ES7 extensions. When you install it, then actually it will be give you this type of one of the helper code. Okay, so with this helper code you can actually able to manage it. So now, which is totally fine. So here I simply load it. So that is one of the class based component, and I name it. Okay, that is a class based component. Great. Here first of all, into the dev position. So into the dev position I want to load one of the button. If you go to that bootstrap, and if you search with the rather than components, into the components area they have one of the button. If you go to, and that is actually the button. Where exactly the button? You can see that is actually the button. So now I want to use like as a warning button. Okay, so I want to use this one. I better copy it. So that is the button. I copy this button, and now here I want to load it. So when you use that button, also you have to import this button. Okay, so here first of all I want to check it with the, it's give you some other instruction or not. So there is a button. If you select, there is ABC code. No, it's not getting any button. So now you have to actually manually add it. So first of all I want to import. I want to import this button. So that will be as a button. Okay, button. So I want to import this button from which place? I want to import it from to the React Bootstrap, right? So that will be the React, and then the React Bootstrap. Simple. I simply load our this button. So that is actually our button. So now that will be actually comes from our React Bootstrap, because I have already installed that React Bootstrap, right friend? And also if you go in for the Bootstrap, they have also another there is getting started. So here there is also another CSS. I want to import it, and you can see there is import and there is a CSS. So now I want to copy it, and I want to make it for the accessible for our every component. For the reasons I want to add this in our this index.js. Okay, so into the index.js that will be accessible for our every component. So here after that I want to import our this Bootstrap. Okay, so in our index.js I simply added. So right now here we don't need this. I want to make it as a clean, and there is a import index CSS. We don't need this import index CSS. Okay, I want to remove this index CSS. I simply remove it. So right now they have some of the file that will be not needed, like as a app CSS. So that is all the default. Okay, so because here that when you install that React.js provided some of the default page. So that is for this app CSS, and the index CSS here will be not needed. Better I want to remove it. Okay, I want to delete it. I just simply delete that app CSS. I want to delete that index CSS. that will be not needed. I want to make it as a clean. Okay, and that is a logo, so also we don't need this logo, so that is by default one of the SVG logo. I want to delete this logo also, so it's totally now perfect, it's now clean. Friend, as I told you, whatever the link you will be put in particular this index.js, that will be accessible for our all that project, right, around all that project. For the reasons I want to do in our asset, in the CSS folder, I have created two of these CSS as a custom CSS and the font or some CSS. So now I want to input both of these in here. Then that will be accessible for rest of total project. So I want to do, first of all, I want to import. Okay, import. So everything will be very clear and is very easy process. I want to actually describe that things in very easy way that you can actually understand. So now that is our index.js, right? So first of all, from here we have to go outside. So if you want to go outside, then that will be the dot and then the slash. Okay, so after the dot slash, you can see now that is actually suggested our all that particular folder. So now I want to do from here, I want to go to that our src, right? So now I select that src, and after that src, there is another folder as a asset. Perfect. And then the css, so I want to use that. After the asset, there is a css folder, and into the css folder our file name as a custom.css. okay, I simply loaded our this file name, so that is actually our file. So I included this css file in index, and also I want to import another css file. So there is another input, another css file as a font awesome css. So I make it as a font awesome.css. okay, sorry, .css. So I imported both of these in here. Okay, friend. So now I want to check everything. I want to check that Bootstrap is working or perfectly or not. I want to check that font or some icon is working or not. That is a custom CSS. I also want to check it. So if you want to check it, now go to our app.js. So into this app.js, I have already loaded another button. So now I want to take another button. Okay, I take another button and I make it as info. Okay, I make it as info, and into this info area I want to load one of the font or some icon. So font or some icon is I tag, right? So into the I tag, I want to use one of the class name. So that will be in React.js. That is one of the JS files. So here I want to use it as a class name. Okay, so class name will be by default one of the Fafa class. So that is a Fafa. I want to use that as a Fafa home. Okay, Fafa home. So now this icon should be displayed. So now if you want to check it, like I just click as a save all. So that is our app.js. By default, this page will be loaded. So now if you go to our project, I have already updated that part. Click as a refresh. Yes, you can see it's perfectly get our Bootstrap, and also it's perfectly get our Fafa icon, right? So here I'm actually using that warning. So for the reasons our button color is become changed. Now that is yellow, and that is here I'm actually using the info. So for the info, that should be as a blue, and you can see there is our font or some home icon is successfully loaded. That means our both of these CSS is working perfectly, right? So here our both of these in our index, into this index I loaded that Bootstrap is working, and font or some CSS is also working. Also I want to check our custom CSS. So if you go to the CSS and then the custom CSS, here I want to load one of the body tag. Okay, sorry. So here that will be one of the body. So I make it as a body. I want to load one of the body tag, and here I want to add on the background color. Okay, so background, I want to use that background color for education purpose. I want to use this one right now. Okay, you can actually change any color from to this position. So you can see you can change any color. So right now it's totally fine. I want to use this one. So now let's check this out. Click as a save all. So now our background color should be updated. Now click as a refresh. Yes, you can see our background color is now successfully updated. That means what? That means our everything worked perfectly, right? This is perfectly get our this custom CSS, is perfectly get our font or some, and also it's perfectly get our Bootstrap means CSS. So in our next video, I want to first of all work for our home page. So for the home component, which file will be needed, I want to organize all that file in here. Okay, so how can do that work? In our next video, I will show you that things with the live example. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.